Most people imagine a genius as someone with wild hair, buried in books, inventing strange formulas, or painting masterpieces that no one understands. But in reality, true genius often hides in plain sight. It doesn't always look like high IQ scores or scientific breakthroughs. Many people who are secretly geniuses don't even realize it themselves. Their brilliance expresses itself in subtle ways, through how they think, observe, and respond to the world. If you often feel misunderstood, detached, or unusually curious about things others overlook, you might possess the quiet signs of hidden genius. The truth is, a genius mind rarely fits comfortably within the structures society builds. From a Stoic perspective, the mind of a genius is like a sword, sharp, precise, and sometimes too dangerous for ordinary handling. It cuts through illusions, questions traditions, and challenges comfortable lies. And because of this, most hidden geniuses spend years doubting themselves before realizing their value. Let's explore the first of the 4 warning signs that reveal you might be a hidden genius. Your deep discomfort with superficiality. 1. You can't stand shallow conversations or small talk. You probably notice this more than anyone else. When people talk about meaningless gossip, trends, or drama, your mind drifts elsewhere. You don't dislike people, you simply crave depth. You want to talk about purpose, philosophy, human nature, and the mysteries of life. But the world around you rewards noise, not silence, entertainment, not wisdom. So when you refuse to participate in shallow interactions, people might call you quiet, weird, or antisocial. In reality, it's not that you can't socialize. It's that your mind operates on a frequency most people don't tune into. This discomfort with superficiality isn't arrogance, it's awareness. You see through the surface of things, sensing the deeper motives behind people's actions and words. When someone lies, exaggerates, or pretends, you notice it instantly. You can't ignore hypocrisy or fake positivity, because your mind automatically analyzes inconsistencies. It's like having an internal lie detector that never turns off. While others may find comfort in illusions, you are drawn to truth no matter how uncomfortable it is. Genius isn't just about knowledge, it's about perception. And your ability to perceive what others miss often isolates you. You might sit silently in a crowded room, observing how everyone plays their part. Like actors in a script, they don't even realize they're performing. You can feel the tension between what people say and what they really mean. This sensitivity to unspoken dynamics can make you seem distant or detached. But in truth, it's a sign of high cognitive and emotional intelligence, a rare combination that allows you to analyze both logic and emotion with equal precision. The Stoic philosophers often spoke about seeing things as they truly are. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "However, this clarity comes with a cost. When your mind constantly dissects everything, it can be exhausting. You may struggle to find peace because you can't switch off your awareness. Even simple moments, like a casual conversation or a social event, can feel mentally draining because you're subconsciously analyzing every layer of meaning. Many hidden geniuses retreat into solitude not because they dislike people, but because their minds need space to breathe. Solitude for you isn't loneliness, it's clarity. It's in those quiet moments that your thoughts align, your ideas bloom, and your insights take shape. Some of history's greatest thinkers, from Seneca to Einstein, spent long hours alone, not as an escape but as a necessity. The genius mind thrives in silence because that's where its depth finds expression. You might have noticed that when inspiration strikes, it often comes unexpectedly while walking, showering, or sitting in silence. That's because your subconscious is always working, connecting dots, and solving problems you didn't even know existed. This is one of the most telling signs of a hidden genius. Your ability to think deeply without effort. You don't force ideas. They come naturally, often from nowhere. Because your brain constantly processes information on a deeper level than most people realize. Unfortunately, modern life doesn't reward deep thinkers. It rewards speed, not depth. Reaction, not reflection. That's why hidden geniuses often feel misplaced in the world. They see through the noise and crave something more real. You might wonder why others seem satisfied with mediocrity, why they don't question obvious contradictions, or why they chase validation instead of meaning. But that frustration is proof that your mind operates differently. It hungers for understanding, not approval. So if you often feel alienated by shallow conversations, or find it hard to connect with people who prioritize appearances over authenticity, Don't see it as a flaw. It's a reflection of your inner brilliance. You're not rejecting the world. You're searching for truth within it. To be secretly a genius is not about showing off your intellect. It's about silently observing, deeply understanding, and wisely acting. The Stoics would say that wisdom lies not in knowing many things, but in understanding what truly matters. And your discomfort with the superficial world around you is the first warning sign that your mind was never meant for the ordinary. It was meant for clarity, depth, and truth, the hallmarks of hidden genius. If there's one thing every hidden genius has in common, it's this: your mind never stops. It's constantly analyzing, connecting, and questioning. What others dismiss as overthinking is actually your brain's way of exploring possibilities. You don't just see what's in front of you. You see everything behind it, beneath it, and beyond it. You replay conversations, dissect decisions, and examine every angle of a situation. To most people, this looks like anxiety. But for you, it's reflection, an advanced form of mental pattern recognition that reveals insights others miss. You might have been told to stop overthinking countless times. But what those people don't understand is that your thoughts aren't random. They're structured, deep, and driven by curiosity. You think not because you're insecure, but because you care about truth. You want to understand the why behind everything, the cause behind the effect, the meaning behind the moment. This relentless curiosity is one of the most powerful signs of a genius mind. Overthinking is not a weakness when guided with awareness. It's the sign of a complex, highly active intellect. The difference between anxiety and genius lies in control. When your mind runs wild, it can drown you in possibilities. But when you learn to direct that mental energy, it becomes an unstoppable force for creation, understanding, and insight. History is full of thinkers who were accused of thinking too much, and Socrates, Nietzsche, Newton, Da Vinci, all minds that couldn't accept surface-level answers. From a Stoic perspective, this mental intensity is a gift that must be governed by reason. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about examining his thoughts and emotions from a distance, asking himself, is this thought useful? Is it within my control? This is exactly how a genius mind should operate, by turning deep thought into disciplined thought. Your tendency to overanalyze becomes wisdom when you learn to separate what you can control from what you can't. You might find yourself awake at night, replaying something small that others would have already forgotten. But that's because your mind is wired to process. You don't just experience life, you interpret it. A simple event can spark dozens of insights, connections, or questions. You might connect a small conversation to a book you read years ago, or a random moment to a deep philosophical idea. This associative power is what allows geniuses to see what others overlook. Your brain is like a web, and every thought you have pulls on 100 others. However, this same depth of thinking can make you feel trapped in your own head. When you live in a world that moves fast and values simplicity, being a deep thinker can feel like a burden. You may struggle to explain your thoughts because they're too layered for quick expression. You might feel misunderstood because your ideas often go beyond what others consider normal. But understand this. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "The person of genius lives in a world different and infinitely richer than that in which the rest of mankind live." That richness comes from your ability to see life in detail, to recognize patterns, anticipate outcomes, and notice subtleties others ignore. You may find yourself predicting what people will say before they say it, or understanding their emotions before they express them. It's not magic. It's your brain's analytical power working on overdrive. Yet this gift requires balance. The Stoics remind us that too much thought without stillness can lead to mental chaos. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And that's where many hidden geniuses struggle. Their imagination becomes so powerful that it creates realities that don't exist. You might invent scenarios, replay fears, or anticipate problems that never come. This is where emotional discipline must meet intellectual brilliance. The key is to use your deep thinking to solve, not to suffer. When guided correctly, your overthinking becomes strategy. You start seeing connections that make you a visionary. You can anticipate failures before they happen, read social dynamics like an open book, and create systems of thought that others could never design. Many great innovators were obsessive thinkers, not because they wanted to be, but because they couldn't stop. They were driven by an internal force to understand the universe in its entirety. That's what you experience on a smaller scale every day. You might also notice that your thinking often drifts into philosophy, psychology, or abstract ideas. That's another clue. Genius minds naturally seek meaning. While others consume information for entertainment, you seek it for understanding. You don't just want to know what happens, you want to know why it happens. This craving for depth, for cause and effect, is what pushes humanity forward. But here's the paradox. Your mind's greatest strength can also be your greatest obstacle. The more you think, the harder it becomes to rest. That's why Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to the chaos of overthinking. Focus on the present moment. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, do what's in front of you well. When you apply that philosophy, your deep thinking finds direction. Instead of spiraling into endless loops of what if, your mind learns to create, not collapse. So if people accuse you of overthinking, don't see it as an insult. See it as confirmation that your brain operates on a higher level. You notice more because you feel more, and you feel more because you think more deeply. The challenge isn't to stop thinking, it's to master your thoughts the way a Stoic masters his emotions. In a world addicted to distraction, deep thinkers are rare. And though it can feel isolating, your mind's complexity is a mark of hidden genius. One of the clearest signs that you might secretly be a genius is the constant feeling that people don't truly understand you. You can be in a room full of people, surrounded by conversation and noise, and yet still feel utterly alone. It's not because you're antisocial or arrogant. It's because your mind doesn't operate like everyone else's. You see connections where others see chaos. You question what others accept. You notice patterns that others ignore, and that level of perception can make you feel like an outsider in your own world. Hidden geniuses often struggle to find people who can meet them where they are. You might explain an idea passionately, only to be met with blank stares. You might talk about something profound, the meaning of life, human behavior, or the illusion of success. But the people around you quickly change the subject to something trivial. Over time, you learn to stay silent, not because you have nothing to say, but because you've realized that most people aren't ready to hear it. This sense of isolation isn't new. Many great minds throughout history experienced the same thing. Nikola Tesla once said, "The mind of man is no longer limited to the body, but solitude is the price of greatness." Even the Stoics, and people like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, lived with the same feeling. They were surrounded by crowds, yet mentally distant, observing human behavior from a higher perspective. They didn't see themselves as superior, but as students of truth, and truth is a lonely teacher. When you're a hidden genius, you often see the world through layers. You see the visible and the invisible, what people say and what they mean. You notice contradictions in human behavior, like how people crave honesty but avoid truth, or how they claim to seek happiness while running from responsibility. You observe how society praises freedom, but lives enslaved by comparison. These insights make you question everything: religion, culture, politics, even your own beliefs. And when you question too deeply, it tends to make others uncomfortable. Being misunderstood can hurt. It can make you doubt your worth or feel like something is wrong with you. You might even try to fit in, to silence your depth just to belong. But each time you do, you feel emptier, because pretending to be ordinary feels like betraying your own nature. The Stoics taught that authenticity is a form of virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That's the path of the genius. Patient with those who cannot see yet, but faithful to your own clarity. Your different way of thinking also means you see potential where others see impossibility. When most people follow patterns, you create new ones. You don't accept "that's how it's always been" as an answer, and you ask, "Why can't it be better?" This mindset can frustrate others, especially those who live comfortably within the limits of convention. But innovation has always been born from discomfort. Every revolutionary idea, every breakthrough, started with someone who refused to think like everyone else. You might also notice that you often play both sides of a situation in your mind. You can understand people you disagree with, empathize with those who hurt you, and analyze problems from multiple perspectives. That ability to hold contradictions and to see both the light and the shadow is a sign of deep intelligence. It means you're not trapped by one way of seeing. You can think flexibly, adapt, and approach truth with humility. The downside is that this depth can make relationships difficult. You crave connection that matches your level of thought, a bond built on meaning, not convenience. But such connections are rare. That's why many hidden geniuses prefer solitude, books, art, or nature. These things don't misunderstand you. They reflect you. When you read Marcus Aurelius, or listen to classical music, or walk alone under the night sky, you feel at peace because in those moments, you're in harmony with minds that think like yours. Being misunderstood can also become a source of strength. It teaches you to rely on your inner judgment instead of external validation. While others depend on approval, you learn to trust your reasoning. You develop resilience, the kind that comes from walking your own path, without applause. The Stoics called this apatheia, not emotional numbness, but freedom from being controlled by others' opinions. You understand that truth doesn't need to be agreed upon to exist. Remember, many geniuses were only recognized after their time. Van Gogh died poor and unappreciated, his art mocked by those who couldn't see its brilliance. Galileo was condemned for suggesting the earth moved around the sun. Even philosophers like Seneca were criticized for their unconventional wisdom. The world often resists what it doesn't yet understand, and that's what makes the hidden genius both cursed and blessed. You see ahead of your time, but you live among those still catching up. So if you've ever felt like you don't belong, or that your mind operates on a wavelength no one else hears, and don't suppress it. That feeling of alienation is not a flaw. It's a signal. It means you're tuned into something deeper, something truer. You were not meant to blend in. You were meant to awaken others, to question, to innovate, and to inspire, even if that means walking alone for a while. The Stoics believe that wisdom often isolates before it enlightens. Your difference is your destiny. The fourth warning sign that you may secretly be a genius is your deep and relentless search for meaning. While most people move through life focused on comfort, entertainment, or social approval, you're driven by a powerful inner question. Why? Why are we here? Why do people behave the way they do? Why does pain exist, and what can we learn from it? This curiosity doesn't come from boredom. It comes from a deeper place, an instinct to understand the hidden structure of life. For you, existing without purpose feels unbearable. You can't live on autopilot. You can't follow routines or traditions just because everyone else does. Every action, every decision, must have meaning behind it, otherwise it feels empty. This is not a sign of restlessness. It's a sign of depth. The Stoics would say that your soul is searching for logos, the rational principle that gives life order and direction. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That single line captures the genius mindset perfectly. While others debate, you act. While they chase trends, you pursue truth. You understand that life's value isn't in how long you live, but in how deeply you understand your existence. This inner drive to live meaningfully separates the wise from the distracted, the thinkers from the followers. Your search for purpose often makes you question everything that people take for granted: success, happiness, fame, and even morality. You might ask, why do people measure their worth by money? Or why do we fear death more than a wasted life? These aren't typical questions. They're signs of a mind operating on a higher philosophical level. You're not content with surface explanations. You dig until you find something real. That's what hidden geniuses do. But this search can be heavy. You might feel a constant sense of dissatisfaction, as if something important is always missing. That feeling isn't failure, it's your inner compass, demanding more from life than comfort. You may change careers, hobbies, or interest often, not because you're indecisive, but because you refuse to settle for something meaningless. You're searching for that alignment between what you do and who you are. The Stoic philosophers understood this struggle well. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." That line hits differently when you have a genius mind. You become painfully aware of how precious time is, and how often people waste it chasing illusions. You can't help but feel frustrated watching others live without intention. You crave significance, depth, and truth, not distractions. That's also why you might feel disconnected from society's definition of success. While most people chase validation through material things or social media, you value understanding, growth, and integrity. You're not easily impressed by money or fame. You're impressed by authenticity and wisdom. You admire people who live with principle, who choose truth over popularity. That's a mark of intellectual and moral maturity, the kind that only a few ever reach. But the search for meaning comes with another challenge: isolation. When you constantly question life, people may call you too serious, too intense, or too deep. They might tell you to just relax or stop thinking so much. What they don't realize is that your depth isn't a choice, it's your nature. You can't stop wondering about the bigger picture because your mind was built to connect dots others don't even see. At times, this quest can even lead to existential doubt. You might wrestle with questions about fate, death, and the nature of consciousness. These thoughts can be overwhelming, but they're also signs of higher awareness. As the Stoics taught, to contemplate life deeply is not to be lost, no, it's to awaken. Marcus Aurelius spent his life reflecting on mortality, not out of fear, but as a way to sharpen his understanding of what truly matters. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. That's the essence of your genius. You see the temporary nature of life and therefore seek what's eternal. You're not satisfied with mere existence. You want to live deliberately." That's why Stoicism resonates so strongly with people like you. It teaches that purpose isn't something we find, it's something we create through virtue, discipline, and understanding. When a genius seeks meaning, they often end up becoming philosophers, writers, artists, or innovators, people who give voice to universal truths. You might not even realize it, but your thoughts, your reflections, and your insights could one day guide others. Every time you seek to understand rather than to judge, or to create rather than consume, you embody that hidden brilliance. The world often tries to distract you from your purpose, with noise, trends, and endless comparison, but your mind can't stay distracted for long. It always returns to the essential question: what does this mean? That's your compass. And while that question can make life harder, it also makes it infinitely richer. So if you often feel like you're searching for something deeper, a truth that can't be bought, a peace that can't be faked, take it as a sign. You're not lost. You're awakening. You're thinking like a philosopher in a world that has forgotten philosophy. You're feeling the weight of purpose in a time that celebrates distraction. The Stoics would call this the beginning of wisdom. When a person stops asking, "What can I get from life?" and starts asking, "There's another reason you find comfort in solitude." You understand the difference between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness comes from the absence of connection. Solitude comes from the presence of self-awareness. When you're alone, you feel most authentic. You don't need to perform or pretend. You don't have to adjust your thoughts to match anyone else's expectations. You can simply be. That state of authenticity is where genius grows. Quietly, patiently, and invisibly. Throughout history, every great thinker, artist, and philosopher has had a profound relationship with solitude. Newton discovered the laws of gravity while sitting alone beneath a tree. Nietzsche wrote his most powerful works during his years of isolation in the mountains. Even Seneca, surrounded by the politics of ancient Rome, withdrew into his inner world for wisdom. They all knew that solitude isn't the absence of life, it's the foundation of it. Your preference for silence also reflects emotional maturity. It means you've learned that not every opinion deserves a reaction, and not every provocation deserves a response. You don't need to prove your intelligence, you live it. This restraint, this calm awareness is a sign of mastery. The Stoics called it ataraxia, a state of serene calmness that comes when the mind is no longer disturbed by external chaos. When you reach this state, you begin to see how much power there is in stillness. The genius mind is like deep water, calm on the surface but full of strength beneath. Others may mistake your quiet nature for passivity, but they don't see the storm of thought happening inside you. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's analysis. You're constantly processing, learning, and connecting ideas. That's why when you finally speak or act, your impact is profound. In the modern world, where everyone is competing to be seen and heard, your silence becomes a superpower. It allows you to conserve energy, protect your peace, and focus on what truly matters. You don't need to chase attention, because you already possess something far greater: understanding. You know that attention fades, but wisdom lasts, and so you move quietly but with purpose, just like every true genius in history. The Stoics taught that the wise person does not need constant company, because they are never truly alone. Their thoughts are their companions. You embody that truth. Your solitude is not an escape from the world, but a return to your inner strength. While others search outward for validation, you look inward for truth. So if you've always felt drawn to silence, if you find your best ideas in solitude and your peace in quiet reflection, understand this: it's not isolation, it's evolution. The world may not notice your quiet brilliance right away, but time always reveals what noise once hid. The genius mind doesn't need applause to prove its worth. It only needs clarity, stillness, and purpose.